I'm Dr. Gail Gross. Welcome. My guest today... Look what happened. You changed the world. I love that.
Oh, thanks for asking me. To me, this is the most important thing.
Right now, we have a lot of good charter schools, but nowhere near enough.
But whereas fear of dying doesn't work that well, joy of living actually works really well.
I left a promising career in academia and exchanged it all for a pair of hiking boots and went to the Amazon.
What was the defining moment in your life? I'm Dr. Gail Gross. Welcome. My guest today is one of the most popular and recognizable actresses in America. In fact, she's an American icon, Goldie Hawn, and I am delighted she has joined me today. Welcome, Goldie.
Thank you, Gail.
Oh,
it's great to be with you.
You are on a journey to India.
I'm on a journey to the world.
What could parents do in the house, in very practical ways, that would teach those good eating habits? What are they?
Well, it's no mystery in how you lose weight. Let's say you're trying to lose weight, or your kid's trying to lose weight.
Yes.
It's no mystery. You either burn more calories or you eat fewer calories.
Yes. Dr. Brenner, if we talk about this idea of a midlife breakthrough, the idea that at midlife we have another chance to find what makes us happy, how would you explain that view?
Well, I think there is a problem. Most people will have what is referred to the crisis, I rather say breakthrough. But the problem is people who know that individual want to hold them in place. And it is very hard to thread the needle into that next incredible experience of life, which holds the essence of who you really are.
And it's so much in the way we view drugs, Ariana, isn't it? I mean, socially, a person can use drugs. Medically, we overdrug our children. You've been writing quite a bit about Prozac and Ritalin. Not that you don't suggest that if people need it, certainly you say yes. If a doctor says you need it, take it. But on the other hand, 6 million kids are on drugs, on prescription drugs. Many times these drugs are being used for remediation, for discipline, and you've been really very vocal in your opinions. Talk to us about that a bit.
Well, I feel it's a very schizophrenic attitude towards drugs. We are over-drugging our children. We give Ritalin and Prozac very often for behavioral reasons. And I believe that this drug should not be given to any child without a proper psychoanalytic, psychiatric evaluation.
How did your journey begin, Dr. Vallaldo? What brought you to this understanding of the mind and the body? I know that you had the experience with science where you saw how it worked together.
What?
But then you went on a journey to experience. Tell us about that.
Well, I began studying the human brain at San Francisco State University, where I had my own laboratory. And we were slicing and dicing and staining the brain and putting it under the microscope. And we were looking for the mind, and we were going smaller and smaller, but we could not find the mind in our microscope slides. So instead I decided to go bigger and bigger, that I was looking through the wrong end of the microscope. And I left the lab, I left my teaching position, I left a promising career in academia, and exchanged it all for a pair of hiking boots and went to the Amazon.
What courage. What was the defining moment in your life?
And I went over to the piano and touched it. And that changed my entire life. You know, From there, I said, "This is it." I don't know. It was a lot of things. It was a replacement for mother, not understanding what the word mother meant, but it was definitely a replacement, a compensation. And can't think of any moment that changed my life more than that.
Thank you, Quincy.
Thank you. You could change the world a little bit. You are changing the world.
Thank you.
You're a beautiful lady.
You are great. Thank you. There are effective listening habits that we can teach children. Number 1, we have to pay attention. Number 2, we can teach them by paying attention how to process data. And number 3, by paying attention and processing data, we can teach them how to remember. The key is to make them self-actualized, to make them recognize that they're worth something, that we think they're significant by valuing what they tell us. My mother used to say, listen to children. They will tell you everything. But if you violate that rule of a safe environment, they won't tell you ever again. The friends who listen to us are the ones we move toward. When we are listened to, it creates us. It makes us unfold, and it makes us expand. Thank you for listening to me.
How do I parent, my spouse's children? How do you put that together and make sense out of it?
You're exactly right. Number one, children, of course, are sharing now this one parent and all that attention with another person, a new spouse, then perhaps other siblings. And then, of course, they feel a certain amount of guilt. Perhaps the divorce was their fault, they feel. They feel omnipotent. Maybe they can help put it back together. So a lot of trouble begins there, a lot of manipulation. Father or mother feels so guilty. They feel they'll lose their children. They may be weekend parents, so they're visiting parents. So now they don't get clear on rules and boundaries and new models because they don't want to lose the love of their children. So what we have to do is establish a new model with empathy. We have to have compassion and empathy for all the players in this new scenario. We have to sit down with this husband and wife first, the first unit, and say, the most important thing here is communication. We're trying to bridge new relationships. That's really building a new family.
With us today, we have a very special guest who you may have seen before on ABC or CNN, Dr. Gail Gross.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Good morning. Early morning.
Early, yes. But we're going to get some good advice from you this morning. Yes. Mom and Dad, how much should they monitor their children's TV watching of the news when you see images like September 11th?
Yes, a lot. Parents must parent, and they have to step into that adult role and be very aware of what kind of media their children are getting and how often. So it's very important to monitor that so your children aren't frightened. Children are very egocentric, and they see everything in terms of themselves. My mommy, my daddy, my house, my bedroom, and suddenly those bombs are really very upfront and personal.
Dr. Gross, something else that we saw this year, a lot of folks rushed out to get married in the wake of the September 11th terrorist attack. And they've got to now strengthen that marriage as they move forward.
Well, it's because of this need to connect and to get real, to be together. Suddenly, we are not so much in the external anymore. We realize that life is fragile, that we don't know what's around the corner. Now we're a country at war. So as we were in World War II, it seems that once again, people are getting married, engagements, are happening all over. My own son is engaged because people want to reconnect to something that's intimate, that's personal, and upfront and personal is really what's happening now.
Let's talk about It's a Kid Thing.
It's a kid thing.
Gail, New Year, how do we, and should we, be teaching our kids to set goals, or does that put undue pressure on a child?
Well, it's the way we do it. Everything is attitude and perception. And I tell parents, be what you want to see. And what setting goals is really a process, a learning for life. It has all of the auxiliary things that come from it. We learn responsibility, meeting the task, going the distance. So in fact, sports teaches that. So what we're teaching children in small increments is a life lesson when we teach them how to goal set.